Warning, spoilers ahead. Romance anime have many tropes. Usually set in a high school, always has a love triangle, and of course, that scene. But if there's one thing that's key to any good romance anime, it's the love interest.
Well, duh, that's the entire plot of the show, right?
But what happens when a side character outshines the main love interest? That's the case with Blue Box, in my opinion, and that is what makes the show different from all the other generic romances. For those who don't know, Blue Box is a sports romance anime where the main character, Taiki Inomata, has a crush on another girl, Chinatsu, who is a basketball prodigy. And due to some convenient circumstances, they now live in the same house together. A love triangle later forms between Taiki, Chinatsu, and Taiki's childhood friend, Hina, who we'll talk about more later. But for now, this sounds like your typical romance anime with a sports twist to it, and amazing animation. But for an engaging love triangle to form, we need to understand the characters better, so let me break them down for you. First, we have Taiki Inomata. He likes Chinatsu, not only for her looks or talent, but also her dedication to her sport, which also pushes him to improve at badminton and prove he is worthy of being with her. By looking up to Chinatsu, Taki is able to use this as motivation for self-improvement and overcome his fear of not being good enough. On top of this, Taki is a nice guy and can hold a normal conversation with his crush, a rare feat in romance anime, which makes the show feel less awkward, and I appreciate that. Next is the main love interest, Chinatsu. She is kind to everyone, super hardworking, especially when it comes to basketball, 1 year older than Taiki, and is living with him. Overall, her and Taiki's relationship is super mature and not cringy at all. Just good chill vibes all around. And she even gives Taiki an ankle bracelet thing to symbolize their connection. Furthermore, they went on a date already in episode 5, which highlights Chinatsu's kindness, as well as showing her feelings for Taiki develop a little. So from hearing that, you may be thinking, okay, that sounds great. Chinatsu seems like someone you'd be rooting for, and seeing her get together with the MC. And yeah, you'd be right, I thought the same for like the first 10 episodes too. But then, Hina comes in, and oh boy is she worthy of stealing the spotlight from Chinatsu. So let's talk about her. Hina is Taiki's childhood friend, and is also a prodigy in rhythmic gymnastics. While she's playful and teases Taiki, she hides her growing feelings for him, which adds depth to her character. Taiki, Chinatsu, and Hina all go to the same school. They all work hard and love their sports, and want to make it to nationals. For the first few episodes, the love triangle wasn't established, and it seemed like the Taiki and Chinatsu ship was slowly being built plank by plank, with Hina even supporting it. But then, episode 6 hit, and that marked the start of a love triangle, and Hina became someone you actually start to care about. This episode focused almost solely on her character and the pressures she faces with the expectations of performing well on her shoulders. In episode 6, we see Hina's perfectionism and the pressure she faces to meet these expectations, practicing tirelessly after a near mistake despite the praise and applause she received from those around her. This is also to ensure she meets everyone's expectations of her and her pursuit of perfectionism. Another important thing in this episode is the fact that she starts to become jealous of Taiki and Chinatsu's relationship, which was shown when Taiki revealed how Chinatsu gave him an ankle bracelet to symbolize how they are like-minded souls striving for the same goal. Hina reflects on this and envies how good it must be to have someone to think about and use as motivation when practice gets tough, saying, "I bet that's the kind of relationship they have," as tears roll down her cheeks moments later. Despite this realization of her feelings for Taiki and jealousy of his and Chinatsu's relationship, she has her own battles to face with the tournament coming up and convinces herself she pushes aside her feelings for Taiki as she knows he's chasing Chinatsu and begins focusing even harder on her training. But then, disaster struck. She is in full panic when Taiki shows up and helps Hina to her feet and takes her to the nurse's office. At this moment, when Hina was so stuck on doing everything on her own because she isn't given any support, the one guy that helps her and hears her out when she needs to vent her pent-up frustration the most is Taiki. His support and kindness helped Hina recover mentally and illustrates that Taiki is someone you could always depend on and someone who can empathize with others even when dealing with his own insecurities. This fact is the main reason Hina begins to develop feelings and marks the true start of the love triangle. Hina's character grows quite a lot, as we see the stress she faces and how she deals with it. The episode ends on a high note with Hina winning the tournament, but this is really just the start of the Taiki-Hina ship. After this, the show switches back to Chinatsu and Taiki's relationship, with Hina once again resuming the role of a side character, appearing here and there to talk with Taiki as friends. Chinatsu sees this and thinks that maybe she and Taiki are more than friends, and gets jealous of Hina and Taiki's relationship. Just the usual love triangle bullshit. Then, that scene happens. Chinatsu opens up about her family, and when all was going well, the Taiki and Chinatsu ship came to a sudden halt.
この前
忘れよ。
This moment shows that Chinatsu isn't interested in romance with Taiki because she's too focused on basketball. Also with Taiki and her living together, it would be awkward. Watching that scene made me cringe for the first time, but not because it was awkward or uncool, but it felt like everything that the story was building up to from a romance standpoint had just came to a sudden stop. In a single clip, like a punch to the gut. This is exactly how Taiki felt, and he was bummed out by this, and Hina decides this is the perfect time to strike. And they go on a date to a festival. Hina musters up the courage to ask Taiki out in a roundabout way, and finally has one-on-one alone time with him, even though Taiki is completely clueless that she likes him. So in about 5 episodes, Hina managed to sort out her feelings and decide she likes Taiki, and was able to set up a date with him. At the festival, Hina showed an awkward side while being alone with Taiki, which is understandable given it's her first time she is alone with him after catching feelings.
ターゲットにされてる可愛いって思ったから褒めてんじゃん
かわいい。
However, the plot of episode 12 swiftly changes when Taiki bumps into Chinatsu, helping a lost kid. Through this bit, we find out that she actually has thought about Taiki being someone she can be with, but she overthinks things, and that ultimately halts her and Taiki's relationship. She saw Hina and Taiki at the festival earlier and wondered if they were dating, and instead of directly asking Taiki, she asks him while he's asleep and deludes herself into thinking that Taiki lied to her to hide the fact that in her mind that Taiki and Hina are dating. The takeaway from this scene is that Chinatsu deep down probably does like Taiki, given her jealous reaction to her deduction that Taiki and Hina are dating, as well as getting hurt by Taiki because she thinks he lied to her about the festival. In the next episode, after the low note that the last one ended on, we get a scene where Taiki flirts with Chinatsu, and she flirts back, which just further backs up the fact that she likes Taiki low-key, but isn't willing to make moves and chooses to focus on basketball instead. Now you might be thinking, Chinatsu makes a valid point. To her, it was her dream to make it to nationals basketball, so that's why she's pushing aside any romantic interests. But you know who else also wants to make it to nationals and works super hard? Hina. And she still has time to have a crush and think about a relationship. So really, I would say that using basketball as the reason to distance herself from Taiki could be valid, but is more than likely an excuse to delay the ship because she is scared of what would happen to her basketball career and scared of getting in Taiki's way. And I'm guessing most scared of what being in a relationship is like. At the time of writing this, episode 14 is the latest episode, and the stakes and dynamics drastically shift. Hina, who started off as a childhood friend, takes a bold leap forward and just straight up confesses to Taiki. Just fucking looks him in the eye and says,
誰にも言ったことないんだけどね。好き。大輝のことが好き。
which showcases the emotional growth she has went through and her courage. Now let me recap Hina's development for you real quick. Episode 6, she starts to develop feelings for Taiki, and we learn that she is a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. 5 episodes later, she has the courage to ask Taiki out on a date, and 2 episodes after this, she confesses. If you don't watch much romance anime, Hina's character development would usually take 200 chapters in other manga. And throughout these episodes, we learn so much about Hina. We get to see her meet expectations, we get to see her interact and get closer with Taiki, and her personality shines through in every scene she's in. Conversely, Chinatsu's character does develop and she has her moments, but her confusion causes her relationship with Taiki to go off course, and Hina's moments just hit deeper than hers in my opinion. As a bonus, Hina, having confessed to Taiki, now uses this to tease him, which is just so funny and in character. But also, she accepts that Taiki likes Chinatsu and leaves it up to him to make a choice. So to sum up everything I've said, Hina is the better option to root for despite not being the main girl, because her character just feels more developed and complex than Chinatsu's. She has the balls to make moves on Taiki, her personality is more bold and interesting compared to Chinatsu's, and she's cute. Now of course I don't hate Chinatsu and there's nothing wrong with the way she's written, but in terms of a love story, her personality currently prevents her relationship with Taiki to develop further. But who knows, I haven't read the manga and the season isn't even over yet, so there's still time for Chinatsu to come back, but we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, Blue Box isn't just about sports or love, it's about how relationships shape us and challenge us. And that's why I think Hina's story hits harder. If you haven't seen Blue Box, then I highly recommend you check it out. The animation is stunning, and it's a great watch overall even if I have spoiled most of the show for you. These are just my opinions of the show, so feel free to leave a comment if you have something to add. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing. See you in the next video.